Hello, I am Jack, and this is the Angry Tomato podcast.
Hello, this is Mark, and yeah, Angry Tomatoes.
Still a work in progress.
I kept expecting strange oranges to come up. Angry
um,
Tomatoes is a good next step.
yeah, so we're going to talk about the PlayStation 5 new controller, the DualSense 5, I think it's called. Um,
In the heart of an isolation, we finally get specs. It's
yeah, we
kind of crazy.
starting to get a bit more something to look forward to. But
Yeah,
it looks like a solid controller, honestly, to me.
it does.
Um,
It looks a bit Xboxy, which is my kind of problem with
you
it.
so yeah, you say it's your problem. I actually really did like the Xbox controller when I was an Xbox gamer.
Yeah. Does
Um,
it look blockier? It looks like a bigger controller, right?
it's definitely bigger and it's meant to be like more weightier, I think, in your hands. But it still kept
Yeah.
that kind of
Okay.
slimmer vibe than that PS4 has always
Yeah.
had. So I do kind of
We
like
we
that.
do know a certain Guado who had an issue with controllers being,
A little
let
bit
me
too
say,
small.
too small and slender for his hands,
Yeah, I
for his
mean,
giant man cave hands.
I do
So
have another friend as well. He said like he definitely 100%, even though he's a PlayStation gamer, he prefers the Xbox 100%. So
really.
yeah, and
Oh.
like I do get like people do like a weightier controller. They like the fact they want to feel something. To me,
There is definitely a certain level of accessibility that they focus on with
yeah,
the
I think
Xbox,
so.
isn't there?
Yeah, like it's
Yeah,
definitely more
it's
of
like
a
a
like a
comfort.
gamer thing. To me though,
Yeah,
I like the fact that I feel like there's nothing in my hands. I like that. Like I think
yes,
that's
same
a
here.
great thing. But
Especially, I mean, not to brag, but we play a lot of Dark Souls, and there's a lot of like time-specific buttons that you
yeah,
got to press to not die
yeah,
immediately.
definitely.
So
Especially in
yeah,
FPSs and stuff like that. Like for me, I don't know. The weightier controller
yeah,
means that
not,
I might throw it.
yeah. It's interesting to think about controllers as a whole. I'm reading this novel called Armada from
Yeah.
Ernest Cline, right? And there's one point where, and not to spoil the entire premise, but they're fighting aliens in a video game, and he walks into this like let's say research lab, and there is every controller known to man. And it's interesting that there's a keyboard there, there's an Xbox controller there, a Nintendo controller,
Oh, that's
and how
cool.
everyone has their own, like when you sit down to play Super Smash, say with a friend, everyone's got their own control
Yeah,
pad.
I
It's kind of
always go for
crazy when you think
GameCube
about it.
controller for like that.
Yeah, you've got the GameCube. I've got that weird Wii remote
With
one,
the
like that
nunchuck,
no one
like
else has seen. No, it's like
oh,
the
the
Wii
actual
gamer
pro
pad,
thing.
the
Yeah.
obscure one. Yeah,
And
so
even when we didn't have that, I remember you used to play with a nunchuck, and I was like, I don't get it. Or Yishat used to play with a
yeah,
nunchuck or something like that.
Yushak did, and I didn't get that either. That nunchuck was
Don't get it.
monstrosity.
But just to run down a few features of the DualSense like controller, um, they've
Yeah,
tried to focus on battery life. They want to keep that high. There's no share button anymore. Now it's called the create button. So I don't know what they're gonna do with that, but apparently it's got some sort of features
okay.
that make it a little bit more different. Like so you don't just clip your stuff anymore. Apparently there's something else. Um,
Yeah,
they've
yeah.
got this thing like haptic feedback now. So they want the controller to sort of be like if you're going over gravel, let's say, and you're driving a car over gravel, you're gonna feel that in the controller. It's gonna feel like gravel. And if you're going over smooth
That
tarmac,
sounds
it's gonna feel like smooth tarmac.
that's new age technology. That
Yeah.
sounds really crazy.
So I think the
Like
way they're
a
trying
5D
to do it
experience.
is they're like trying to do yeah like that haptic feedback. So I was thinking that maybe say for Call of Duty for instance, if you get shot from the right, you might feel vibration from the right hand side of the controller, and it
Oh,
might
that's
it
nice.
might do that sort of thing. And if that does happen, that's a brilliant feature to have in my opinion. Like the
Yeah,
vibration feature is something that people always turned off. Like
yeah.
at least in pro aspects and stuff like that. So that's quite an interesting thing. Another thing is that apparently they're going to have this thing like a built-in microphone, so you can plug in your own headset, but they're going to have
Yeah.
it's going to have a built-in microphone, so people can just join if you want to have a quick chat with someone. It will come through the controller, and you can talk through the controller rather than having to connect a headset every time, which is very
That's great.
that's great, but also I don't know about that one. We'll see. Like
Yeah.
you join a lobby with loads of
I
people with that
assume.
turned on, and all you hear in the background
Oh
is
yeah.
someone doing washing, someone doing playing music, someone like smacking like a pipe or
But
something like
it's
that.
it's one of those definitely it's definitely a mixed bag because you'll get back from work sometimes and you'll be in like a private group chat with someone, you can't find your headset, don't ask, I'm a loser, I keep losing it somehow, and I just want to talk to someone, I'll have to use the in-game's mute, directional options, the facial expressions of the in-game characters to communicate sometimes.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
there's a button that you're back from work, you're tired, you hit that button, bam, you can talk to people, that would be great.
I think
Um,
so.
I, I'm also thinking back to we used to play a lot of Payday and just a bunch of other like communication related games. Not to say that
Yeah,
there's still a lot of those games around. And one thing we used to love doing was finding random people just on the public chat, just talking to you about their, their lives or what they're doing or strategy. And I
Yeah,
liked meeting people that way. That was a lot of fun. I
a
think
lot.
we kind of lost that with the PS4 era
We did lose
a
that with the
little bit.
party chat, like the fact that you couldn't hear anybody else or talk to anybody else. I didn't like that feature of PS4. Like
Yeah,
at the same time, I will say, like knowing you, this
yeah,
will now be worse for you, I think, because you won't have an excuse now to not talk. Like, oh, sorry, I've
That's a
lost
fair
my
point.
mic. You can't say that anymore. It's built into the controller, you mate. So,
Like I'm slightly hiding the fact that this entire isolation is just like Christmas come early for me.
and like the
Not
worst
to
thing
say
about
like
it,
what's going on out there.
you
So
still you
like,
still can't talk to people. Like, you still don't talk to people. Like, even though you've got no excuse. Like, it's very
I
confusing.
accidentally call people every now and then, so that's
Yeah.
I get my reserves done
Or
then and there.
or don't talk to people on their birthdays.
Okay, I felt bad about that one. For reference, me and Jack's birthdays are literally 4 days apart. His is on the 5th and mine's on the 9th, so it tends to be a mutual birthday.
From the day of
And
recording, it's Mark's birthday is today, so happy birthday.
yeah, exactly. Happy birthday, me. Woo, older. Yeah, just so happened on the 5th, my phone had
Oh
crashed so
yeah,
hard that
sure.
it just, it didn't turn on the entire day. What a miracle.
Even though you sent me a
I
happy
did,
birthday message.
and I was the first to put that message down in the group chat, and may that be a testament to my acknowledgement of your birthday.
Great, thanks. But yeah,
No, that's
like
pretty bad form. I apologize.
like my only disappointment about the controller, in my sense of it, is those pro controllers that have paddles on the back, so an extra
Yes.
two triggers. I would have
Hmm.
I would have liked this to innately have that. I thought the next
Yeah.
gen controller was going to have paddles on the back of the controller as well, let alone the two triggers at the top. That's just something I
Yeah, I
wanted.
see.
Like I wanted because playing Call of Duty or something like that, you can map those buttons and to crouch or jump or something like that, so you could do stuff while you're still holding the controller. I would have liked that
So
feature, but I guess it's not
the
there.
the back of the controller usually has like four buttons, right? You talking
On the,
about an
on
extra button on top of that?
so on like certain like there's a brand called Scuff. So they do controllers where you can have you have the L1, R2, R1 and L2. But on the
Yeah.
back of the controllers where the handles are, there's two extra buttons, which are like paddles,
Oh,
like
I know what you're
triggers.
talking about.
Yeah, and that I thought that would have been just standard with the controller, the next gen controller,
Yeah.
but apparently not. I don't, which I'm
And
not too disappointed, but I get why.
would those back buttons help you say lean around corners? Like you press like the left one, you
Yeah,
lean,
I
and then you
mean,
can shoot.
the idea of them was that they could be literally mapped to any button. So
That's incredible. I think
those
that
people
would
that
have been
do
a great
fucking
addition.
dirty drop shots. Yeah, those people have probably got like
Yeah.
paddles on the back and they can just drop shot. I hate
You think with
it.
modern day intervention they would just like throw that on, or did that extra button cost them another 10 quid per control
Honestly,
panel? And they were like,
from what
fuck
I've
this.
heard from the whole Sony like aspect of it, is they're trying to keep costs real low. Like they want this
Yes,
to be
I
a
see.
real cheap controller, or
I mean, there
console.
was that entire PS3 60 gig fiasco, wasn't it? Where you could play PS2 games on a 60
Yeah,
gig
I don't know what that was
console, but
about.
it cost them a boatload of money. They couldn't afford to like implement that sort of technology
Yeah.
into every PS3, so they just cut that out and they actually started to make a profit like
So
immediately.
if
They
we
were like,
sound like too boomer here, but like most people like don't know, but at the PS3 when it first released, the first like shipment of all the PS3s was 60 gigabytes, and they could play PS2 games for some reason,
yeah.
and some PS1 games, which no one knew why. And then when they started shipping them out again with different memory, they all suddenly couldn't do that. So
I believe it was 40 and 80 gigs, and they had no connection
and
to
then
the PS2.
the
So
60 gigabyte PS4 threes were on the eBay was like expensive as fuck. Like everyone wanted them. They were like
yes.
400, 500 pounds.
Also, another funny thing as well they tried to implement for the 60 gig. A lot of people actually got Sony. Was it Sony? Give me a second. Where it breaks and then they can fix it for you
Oh,
for free. I can't remember what it's called again.
like the yellow light death thing, or
No, no, no.
like warranty?
Warranty. Yeah, it was like a warranty,
Oh
and it
wow.
was so much money. People were just bringing it back. They were like, "This is a broken PS4. I signed off on that warranty. Can you fix it?" And they immediately had to scrap that. They were like, "Okay, we can't keep paying to fix
Can't do
people's
this anymore.
consoles."
Yeah, like I don't know. Like my thoughts on the controller, I think it's gonna be good. Like
I,
most of
I
the
will
thing.
agree with you that it looks slender. It looks like it'll fit, it will shape, it might mold into the shape of your hand.
Yeah,
And
I think so.
that entire experience you're talking about, like how you like the controller to feel weightless as if it's not there. I feel like that'll be a little bit more prevalent here on the new console
Yeah,
controller.
I'm not sure about the white. It may show up dirt a bit more. Like people who play
Yeah.
games for like 7 hours, like I do, like might be a little bit dirty at the end of that. But Um,
Yeah, I agree. I prefer black too. It just I don't know.
so let's move on to the actual like specs of the PS5. Um,
Yes.
obviously there's Xbox specs as well, but none of us give a shit about Xbox. But still, though, we'll talk
Not
about it.
here, not on this podcast. You go
Um,
elsewhere.
so most of it is pretty standard stuff. Like the memory is like 16 gigabyte. The actual SSD and stuff like that is 16 gigabyte. The internal storage is a bit got me concerned a bit. PS5 is at 825 gigabytes,
Okay.
and the sorry, it's at 825 gigabytes for SSD, which is how
Okay.
basically how fast the PS5 will run. So apparently the PS5 is going to be very very quick. Is all I've heard. Is it's going
Wow.
the
Okay.
load time is nuts apparently. So, for instance, the PS5 the HDD was actually the load time for 1 gigabyte was about 20 seconds, right?
Yeah,
Um,
I see.
the load time apparently on the PS5 is 0.27 seconds.
Yeah.
So 20
Wow.
seconds to 0.27 is insane.
Yeah.
And it's
I mean,
extra
I like.
gigabyte on top, so we'll see.
I I think in 2020 we can now measure things in Skyrims because everyone's played Skyrims on multiple consoles and everyone remembers the PS3 2-minute load times for like going into a city
Level
compared to the
60.
PC's 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
So
pretty
so
much
this
like that.
PS5 would be like 20 Skyrims speed.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But the Xbox is got like a 1 terabyte custom internal storage, and then all it says for PS5 is it's just custom. That's what it says. So we don't know about that.
Okay.
That it does have you can do expandable storage, so we've always got that. But apparently
Fantastic.
the raw power of it, the Xbox is stronger. Apparently the raw power Xbox is better graphically and better in terms of that aspect of it. But the PS5 apparently
Okay.
is going for speed. So that's the only thing we know is that they want it to be like you boot up a game instant. You turn on the console instant. They want it to be like that
Wow.
rather than and honestly like we all know the Xbox the Pro the Xbox the last Xbox that came out was stronger than the PS4 Pro, like had better
Yeah.
graphics and that. But it doesn't stop games like Last of Us coming out on it, and it didn't stop like
Yeah.
games like Uncharted 4 coming out, which still looked magnificent. So
Actually impeccable games. Like some of these games are
if
pretty
I would
flawless when you think
always
about
take
them.
speed over graphics for me personally.
Yeah.
Like,
Same here. Yeah.
but
Definitely.
I know some people love
It's a
graphics.
matter of life and death in certain games.
Yeah.
Like,
So we'll see what happens with that whole aspect. But yeah, I don't
yeah.
know. It seems pretty good. On to piggyback off of that, Last of Us 2 got delayed. I don't know if you heard about
Did
that.
it?
Yeah.
No, I had no idea. Oh,
Yeah.
that's a big shame. How long's the delay?
No,
What do you
I
think
have
of
no
it?
idea because of coronavirus. So
Yeah,
it's
that
been
makes a
delayed.
lot of sense. I'm gonna imagine there's gonna be a lot of game delays
I
for a
think
lot of
so.
people.
I know CD Projekt Red recently said that apparently Cyberpunk won't be delayed. So maybe
Oh, nice one. Yeah,
maybe.
it's like games that are in a certain level of post-production, like they're just getting the polish up. But I
Well,
imagine the work
yeah.
that you can do from home, you can do from home. But can you imagine building a game from the ground up,
About
or at least from the halfway mark?
yeah.
All of it over the internet, all of it over like voice chats. Of course, it's possible. It's just
Well,
a
apparently
lot of
like Last of
arrangement.
Us was already done. Like it's just the final
Wow.
touches. So I don't
Okay.
know. Apparently it's because
Those
of
final
shipping.
touches must be incredible.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. That one's a bit weird. But I'm excited for the PS5, and I'm excited for the
Yes.
Xbox as well. Even though I don't care about Xbox or play Xbox, I'm excited to see
Yeah.
what it has to offer. Um,
Yeah.
there's no chance of me buying it, but
Mhm.
like I don't know. I
We're
think
old
it's
enough to respect the
yeah.
innovation, isn't
There
it?
is
It's
no
like
such thing as a console war. This isn't. There's no such thing.
yeah, and the console war, like every fan should be like, blessed that we have the console war. When you think about it objectively, it just makes them both compete to be as good as they freaking can be.
Exactly. So
If it was just Sony or Xbox, we'd be screwed. It would just be lazy, people pumping out barely progressive technology every year.
exactly. Like
So
I think competition
yeah,
is healthy, and I think it's a good idea as
definitely.
well. Like I don't know. Like you wouldn't get all these brilliant innovations if it wasn't for competition. So
Yeah, it works the same way for games. Like shooters are always trying to one up each other. They're trying to
exactly.
get the
Yeah.
best shooting experience possible. So it's
Um.
awesome. Love it.
Yeah. So we'll move on to our next topic of birthday isolations, as we've already
Birthday
briefly touched on.
isolations.
How's your birthday going? I guess it's still going now. Like, is it
Absolutely incredible.
so? Birthday in
Yeah,
isolation
that
is preferable for you.
no, actually, it's not. It's a back and forth thing. You gotta make do with what you got, right? Like I can't just sit here and brood on the fact that my birthday I'm not surrounded by all the people I usually would be, or doing the things I specifically would like to do.
Yeah.
But you got to sit there and just think about like how do I, not dwell on the fact, how do I make it a little bit better? For example, making this podcast with you is something that we're doing now that's, adding to the birthday, I guess, like
Yeah,
giving me something else to do. Went jogging this morning. That was a lot of fun, like
definitely. That's
plan to watch a movie, drink more beer later on. So, at the end of the day, maybe it's not a great birthday, but it's a great day, and I can't dissipate that much.
yeah.
So,
I mean, I think
yeah.
it's still like it's that kind of aspect of it. It's like it's still a good birthday for me. Even my birthday was on the 5th, so it was still a good birthday for
Yeah.
me. I still had a good time. I actually
You
hung
had
out
an
with all the friends and all that stuff on Skype.
absolute
Well,
ingenious idea. The
Zoom.
day before your birthday, you popped it up in the group chat. You're like, hey, anyone want to hang out with me at 7:30? I'm going to be on the comms. We're just going to talk for a couple of hours. And
Yeah,
then you
yeah.
did. And
And it turned out
like
to be
the
a great
stories I heard
evening.
from that was incredible.
Yeah, yeah, and honestly,
Yeah.
shame you couldn't make it. I know you're busy, but but like it would have been it would have been a good time, and it was a good time. Honestly, like it was good catching
Yeah,
up with
I
everyone.
couldn't recommend more like more what you just did. I think everyone should be probably reaching out a little bit more now. I think
Yeah,
everyone's if you've got social anxiety, I think everyone would like to listen now more than ever because most people don't have much else to do. Everyone's furloughed, everyone's stuck in isolation,
yeah,
probably waiting for someone to talk to them. So it's a really good thing.
I think so. Yeah, I think and seems like you're doing a similar thing as well. So you're going to be talking to everyone as well tomorrow, and I think
Yeah,
it makes up like that's what we would be doing anyway, but just not in person.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
so, it's still a
yeah.
great time.
Heavily influenced by yeah
Yeah, yeah. I'll
your
make sure to have
your
some beers
strategic.
or ciders near me for
Awesome, make
tomorrow.
it happen. It'll be great.
Just don't be
That'd be awesome.
a terrible person but not talking to anyone in the chat.
Yeah, I'll be sociable. I'll
Your
sit
birthday
down. I'll muster up
celebration
the
and
strength.
you're just silent.
Yeah. Every now and then I say yes, and it's not even me. It's just a pre-recorded message of me.
Yeah,
A little video that
soundboard.
says yes every 15. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm not really there. It's just my phone plugged into a computer or something like that, just
But
generating an image.
you mentioned like making the best of like what we have at the moment and stuff like that, and
Yes.
I think like that's a key thing. You got a happy household there. Like I think that's the key.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
I think that's the key thing to have is at the moment is that like with the isolation you've got to try and do these kind of activities like because you mentioned going jogging and working on your fitness a
Yes.
bit more. Like you sound like you've got a routine
That's
now.
uh that's definitely something you started because you went ahead, did a lot of jogging, started up yoga.
Yeah,
And then in my head, I sat down there, and the line you actually used was, you might as well. There's no reason why you shouldn't be doing it.
yeah,
And I thought about it objectively, and I do want to come out of this isolation as strong as I can be, so that I can give back. Because we need to repair this society once everything's well and done.
yeah.
And I want to be able to come back running, like land on the ground, just like lunging like the Hulk. Got that speed
Well,
and
I think
strength in me.
I think the specific thing you said was like Jack's gonna come out of this like looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I need to keep up.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's very gracious of you, but that's not what's gonna happen.
Can you imagine, because we work as baristas, we're going to show up again, just like two dense dudes standing over the counter. You want a coffee? We'll get you an espresso.
Oh yeah,
Like,
accidentally crush the cup
flinging
as we
these.
pass it to them.
Yes. Yeah. The people are, they won't know what to expect when we get
But
back. It's
like
great.
like before all this obviously happened, like we did some like 5K runs and stuff like that, and it was fun. Like, and I was actually planning to do a lot
Yeah.
more of them in the summer. But it'd be good to come
Yeah.
back to it and like after this isolation go, yeah, do you know what? I can actually do 5. I can do 10. Like
Yeah. Be
it'll
able
be a
to
good
give it
idea.
more.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
that's
One
a
thing
key
you're always
thing.
talking about is you're never too old to do stuff. We took up
Yes.
skateboarding not
Mhm.
too long ago, and I like the idea that now that I'm jogging, I'll have more stamina to skateboard for longer and be able to do more come
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
isolations, you know,
I mean,
closure,
I
I
was
guess.
going like jogging every day, and then that stopped. Like I've been going like every couple of days now. But
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
going every day, I did start to see like by day 6 or 5 or 6 that I could go now without stopping and stuff like that. And you do
Yeah.
see improvements very quickly. It's just a hard hurdle to get
Yeah.
over. Like
I,
like
I
trying
think my
like
first jogging session, I did about 15 minutes and then I was walking the rest of the way, but it
yeah.
just felt good.
Well, that's the thing. Like
Yeah,
it
so
brings me back to that quote I love from BoJack Horseman. It's the guy, the monkey guy who jogs, and he's like, the BoJack says to him, it's like, does it get any easier? And he's like, it gets easier, but you got to do it every day. That's the hard part. And
yeah,
and I think that
yeah,
that's a resonant of what it is actually to jog as well. Like I know it's meant to be a metaphor for other things, but like it's definitely like for jogging as well. Is if you did do it every day, it does get easier. But the hard part is
what an
doing it.
incredible quote,
Yeah,
actually. That's a really good one.
I do love that one.
We were talking prior to the podcast about just like the little things you got to do at home. You know, like brushing your teeth in the morning, or
Yeah.
say, you know, washing the dishes and stuff. Especially since time is relative now, because no one's got like some of us have let our schedule go a little bit because I guess you can. There's
Yeah.
no reason to be waking up at a specific time, you know, unless
Oh
you
yeah,
really
definitely.
want to. But there's always got to be that bit of structure. You know, you've got to be able to wash the dishes. You know, got
Yeah,
to be able to
I
keep your
think so.
household clean and
Like
yeah,
I think that's what it comes down to is like having a structure even though you have no structure is very difficult sometimes.
yeah.
Um, but
It's definitely an improvement. You know, the jogging. I feel like my days are more stable. I guess they pass more regularly. They feel more comfortable. I guess, and
yeah,
I feel more comfortable getting home,
I'm
taking a
I'm, I'm
shower, just lying on my back, feeling like I've done something.
I am hoping we can keep this up even when the isolation is finished. But we'll see about
Oh,
that. But yeah,
I mean, knowing me and you, we're very active, especially when there are, you know, especially when we get that free reign. You know, we get some time off work. We usually go
yeah.
nuts, just going out all
We'll
the
wait
time.
until the
So
alcohol starts flowing again and see what happens.
yeah, the alcohol is the biggest problem. I mean, growing up in London, like you know, England in general, big culture with drinking.
Yeah, very
Definitely,
big.
that's most of what we do here. I think 4 days a week, 5 days a week, especially in December, we'll be drinking after work, like down to the pub,
Yeah.
a couple of
I hope
conversations.
this
Who
ends
knows
by
where it goes
summer.
from there?
Honestly, I really do. But
Yeah, it's
I
true.
know
I've
I've
probably
heard a
done
lot of
wonders for my living.
yeah. I mean I've heard a lot of people at the moment say like I could do isolation, but I think this is enough now. Like I want it to
Yeah,
end. So
definitely.
yeah.
I will say what's fascinating is you were talking to me the other day about hobbies that people have undertaken, people taking up guitar or learning Japanese or
Yeah,
just, you
yeah,
know, like,
and I think that's a good thing is that people are actually trying to use at least the people our age. I don't know about anyone else, but are trying to use
yeah,
this like aspect of like trying to better themselves and focus on their self like worth and like what much how much hobbies they want to actually do and pursue. And who knows? It
yeah.
could all be a fad, but who cares? You know?
Yeah, exactly. I can only agree with you more. Like, I definitely, like, everyone who's doing a little bit more, you know, I'm practicing bass a little bit more.
Yeah,
I do feel a slightly inflated sense of self-worth, like I'm working towards something or improving in a certain aspect of skill. That does make the days flow a little bit better. You know, I know you've thrown yourself into yoga. You're going to come out like a
oh, it's
yoga
hard,
master,
man.
just levitating.
Like it's hard. Trust me, I don't know how long I can keep doing it. It hurts. But yeah,
But hearing stories is always inspiring. It makes me go, oh, you know, he's working really hard at yoga. He's gonna come out like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I need to throw myself into it too.
I'm glad
Builds me
somebody
up too,
believes in
you
me.
know. It's an interesting chain reaction. I
Yeah,
like the idea of society getting stronger
productivity breeds
in isolation.
productivity. So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I can definitely.
but
That
yeah,
quote's a good
um, I've been Jack,
one. I've
and
been Mark.
that about wraps it up. So thanks for joining us.
So, what are we now? Strange Tomorrows? It's been Strange
Yes,
Tomorrows.
it's angry tomatoes. Angry tomatoes.
Angry Tomorrows. No.
We're angry at the isolation.
You know what? That's a fair one.